Shooters, welcome back. George, DMZ Tactical. I want to take about 5 to 7 minutes of your time and show you a couple techniques that I have for working and manipulating your firearm, especially from a holster, talking about some safety issues and the way you present that firearm and load, present, and also reholster that firearm in a defensive situation. I don't have a concealed garment on me right now. I just put on my battle belt just to be able to show you. In a concealed garment, it's hard to be able to demonstrate some of the quirks that go along with holstering a handgun. So it's a little more advanced, but these are just the basics. I know a lot of you guys buy handguns and go take CCW classes and never really get any training in holstering or unholstering that firearm. So I just want to take a few minutes. So I appreciate your time, and basically I'm going to start off doing a safety check. I do have my firearm right here, and I'm actually going to get in close here. It's a Smith & Wesson M&P. I'm going to actually slide slack to the rear, make sure no magazine, no feed source in there, and if you look right in there, we're going to physically and visually check that no rounds are in the chamber. My magazines, which I have here, they have dummy rounds in them. As you can tell, they're red rounds, they're dummy rounds. We're going to be using them for the purpose of this demonstration. I'll say this, and it's a little controversial, but you'll understand once you see what I'm talking about. Holsters are built to shoot yourself. And I will say it again, and then I will demonstrate. Holsters are built to shoot yourself. And again, it's a statement I'm making, and I will demonstrate what I mean. Basically, a holster is made to protect that trigger guard area on the firearm, basically this area here. Anything in that area, when you're going to holster your firearm, will make that gun go off. I don't care what kind of gun it is. If it does have a safety, then that's a whole different issue. But just like this striker-fired Smith & Wesson M&P, it's locked and cocked right now. If I holster this with my finger in that trigger guard, that gun will go off, and I will demonstrate. So just pay attention, try to listen for the click. Basically, gun is locked and cocked. Basically here, finger straighten off the trigger. As I put it in there, perfect. That's the way it should be. That's why I always tell you finger straighten off the trigger, finger straighten off the trigger. Because as you get more advanced and you're going to start holstering, you're going to see that makes a difference. But if that's not ingrained in your brain housing group, someday, sometime, you're actually going to get lax and laid back, and you're going to leave that finger in that trigger guard. Especially if you're going to holster real quick or in a duress type situation. You always fall back to your training. So if you're not training this way, you're going to fall back to this. And if you didn't get shot by your attacker, you're going to get shot by yourself, by your own gun. So basically, pay attention here. Finger still in the trigger guard. As I holster in here, I'm just going to do normal holster, and I'm going to push down, and look what happens. I don't know if you heard the click, but I will try again. Basically, finger in that trigger guard, and look what happens. Listen. As I keep pushing down the holster actually pushes on my finger and makes the gun go off. And that's why I say holsters are made to shoot yourself, unless you properly apply those key fundamentals of finger straighten off the trigger and proper holstering. So that's why finger straighten off the trigger is one of the most important things you do in advanced weapons manipulation, because at any point you're going to be able to holster that gun, and if that's not there, guess where it's going to be? The other place most people put it is right in there, and as soon as you put it in there, that gun's going to go off. So that's why I say holsters are made to shoot yourself. Now you kind of sort of understand it. And I'll get a million emails, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, this and that, whatever. Take it for what it is. The whole premise of that is to keep you thinking, keep you reacting, keep you being proactive into making sure that finger straighten off the trigger. If you always think, oh, the holsters are made to shoot myself, guess what? You're going to be thinking finger straighten off the trigger. So it's a little, word association, mind game type thing, but it works. And it helps instill that muscle memory that you need for finger straighten off the trigger. So it's basically that. So now that we're done with safety, here we are. Basically, holstering from the right side, your weapon is in its holster. The whole purpose of that is to hold your firearm when you're not using it. when you do need to use it, that firearm needs to come to a position where normally from there you can do anything you want. You can present it, you can move, you can do whatever you want. There's these, we at DMZ Tactical, we don't teach the whole, TJ Hooker type, FBI going down and clearing rooms. We also don't teach the whole weapon up in the air like the old Charlie's Angels TV shows. We teach a high compress ready, low compress ready right here. This is all we do. There is applications where you can use the other different techniques in some kind of room clearing and different areas where you might need that. You might not want to be able to flag somebody, especially a team member coming in and you're doing a raid or serving a warrant on a house. But again, for the purposes of my instruction, for the purposes of the ranges when I do my events, these are the only positions that most people are going to have their handgun. It's going to be a high ready, compress ready here, or a low ready, either chest high or belly high. And that's basically it. This other support hand comes in here, and I don't care how you do it, if you do it like this, or if you do it like that, or if you do it like that, or if you give me a thumbs up. This other hand comes up here and just rests up there. Some people are very adamant of keeping this hand straight and then putting this down, and they look like robots and all that fun stuff. You shouldn't have to look like a robot. Just natural movements. So we'll break them down. Basically, the first thing you have to do is we're going to go ahead and start with stands, feet shoulder width apart, natural, active, or athletic stands that we talk about. And it's also an interview position. If you ever see law enforcement officers, when they come talk to you, when they're at this arm's distance away, they're most of the time in an interview type position. Why that is because it allows your hands to be able to move quickly if need be. So if I'm in this position, all of a sudden I need to protect my brain housing group right up here, this fast. If I had my hands back here in my pockets and I'm sitting there talking to you, what would happen is now you come at me, and how long is it going to take me for me to come up and protect my brain housing group? That's why this interview position is perfect for anything you do. From here I can move, I can do forward, backwards, I can get off the line of force if I need to. So pretty basic position. From here we're going to have to get to our firearm. Our primary hand is going to come up, and it's basically going to get a nice grip as far forward and as far up on that grip as you can. And the reason for that is because the higher the grip right here, the better recoil management you're going to have. All right, so that's how when you practice your grip, and this is all stuff you can do at home, when you're practicing your grip, just to grab it, do a couple repetitions, just basically here, and just talk to yourself, say, gun, come grab, gun, come grab, gun, come grab. And it's basically, do it slow at first, get that muscle memory, and figure out where that hand needs to go to be able to get that high grip on the firearm. Because once you have your grip and you pull that gun out, there is definitely no time to be able to sit there and, time out, shooter, hold on, let me get my better grip on my gun. Whatever purchase you have on that firearm is the purchase you're going to have when that gun comes out of that holster. So keep that in mind. You always want to work towards that perfect grip so you're better able to run that gun and run it hard, especially in defensive or tactical situations. Seconds, milliseconds count, shooters. So basically, from here, come out and grab the gun. I actually have a retention here, the Safariland holster, but basically my thumb is going to activate that. Some of you guys might have it, might not have it. Different holsters have different techniques. Some, Serpa holsters do it with the finger. That's a whole nother story, which I don't recommend. But basically, looking at your holster itself, come up here, gun, grab here, high grip. I'm going to use my thumb, pull this guy out, and I'm going to come up. And that's basically it. Notice my finger's always straight. My finger's always straight. It basically lays right on the outside of that holster, and as I pull up, it meets the rail or the frame where my finger needs to be. I stipple that part so I know my finger's in the right place. Notice my thumb is always sticking out. There's a reason for that, and I will demonstrate here that in a minute. So I'm basically here, again, demonstrating this. If you need to see this over and over again, just review the video. But basically from here, I grab and I pull up. As I'm pulling up, my whole purpose is to get to this position here, this high ready or this low ready, whatever you're using. for the purposes of this, I'm using a high compress ready, which is going to be here. From here, I'm going to be able to run my gun, present it at whatever threat comes upon me. So my whole goal is to get this hand up here without causing any havoc and discontent, like flagging myself. So I'm not going to do this. I come up here, I'm going to grab this gun. Look at what I'm doing. I'm actually passing a loaded gun right over my hand. I don't want to confuse all that craziness, especially in a duress type situation. My hands are being waved everywhere. So as you're going for your gun, your support hand just comes up here chest high. So if you're in this interview position, come up here and bring your gun out. See that? Come up here, bring your gun out. So you can take this step by step, and then as you put everything together, you won't look like a robot. But basically, first step, grab your gun. You're going to pull the gun up high enough so it's clear, so it's not hitting. If you don't pull up high enough, when you try to bring it forward, it's going to hit. So basically here, come up here, grab that high grip, pull your gun out enough so it clears, and then you're going to bring it here. This is where your hands join, and now you're at a high ready position. From this position, the purpose for having my thumb up is because it doesn't block my support hand from getting a full grip with the meat of my paw on my support hand. So my thumbs forward grip, which I will demonstrate here in a second, is the best grip that I have found for defensive or tactical manipulation of this firearm. So you can get rounds down range and keep being effective, that combat effective zone that we talk about in our classes, and be able to deliver lead down range at a fast enough pace to make a difference and give you that survivability. So as I come up here, this hand meets me. These four, basically what I do with my support hand is I get these 4 fingers and I get my thumb. Basically 4 fingers, I cant it a little forward. This thumb, my support thumb, is going to be pointing the same direction as the barrel. Why? I index that on the barrel because wherever I look, I can point to with my gun or with my finger. If I want to look over there and I want to point my finger that way, I can point it that way without even thinking about it. So that's the purpose of keeping that thumb pointed in the same direction as the barrel. Because if I got to drive this gun out, wherever I'm looking, especially if I'm target transitioning or taking on multiple threats, as soon as I take out one threat, my eyes are already on the other threat, I drive the gun that way, my aim is 90% there. And again, milliseconds count, guys. 2/3 of a second, 1/3 of a second counts. So as I drive that gun out and I look at my other threat, my gun comes out here, I can bring it back in here and then drive it out. Wherever I'm looking, my thumb, I'm just driving my thumb out wherever my threat is. 90% of my aiming is there. Now at these distances, because I'm at close distance, I don't have to worry too much about that perfect sight picture, sight alignment. I can start driving rounds down range, start creating some havoc and discontent for my threats. So basically, whenever I grip the gun from here, I come in, high thumb comes up here. This thumb is pretty much useless. It doesn't do anything in my grip. Finger straight off the trigger. I take my support hand, as you can see, I come up here and I wrap it. I wrap it on these 4 fingers, and I take my thumb and I cant it so my thumb is facing forward, just like the barrel, as you can tell there. If you see, this thumb here is just laying there, not doing anything. It just rests on that other hand. This whole meaty part of my paw is sitting straight on the grip. That's the more meat I got on the gun, the less it's going to be able to go everywhere. So if I were to put the thumb right there, when I put my paw there, look what it's doing. Look how much space I got there. So that doesn't work. Leave that thumb up, drive that gun, and this is your thumb's forward grip. From here, you present to your threat. So as you come up, you're here. Nice compressed high grip here. If you're in a high threat situation, your grip is already on the gun. If you're just here, you can let go of your support hand grip. Point the gun down, point it down range, whatever the case may be. Keep it pointed in a safe direction. At any point, if you see a threat, gun, you grab your grip, and as you're driving that gun out, now that finger goes in the trigger guard and you get rid of that pre-take up on the gun. As you're driving the gun out, by the time you get to full extension, that gun should go off, rounds down range, creating havoc and discontent for your threat. That's basically the grip. So from here, bam! Notice I'm not waiting to drive this gun out Once it's completely out, now I stick my finger in there and now I squeeze the trigger once I get my sight picture sight alignment. That's too long, shooters, that's too long. When a threat is 21 feet away, 7 yards, and it's coming at you full speed, you will not have time to do that. Your best bet is to practice this is as you're driving the gun out, your finger goes in there. As you're driving the gun out, your finger goes in there and you get rid of all that pre-take up. And you should learn how much space is in there because that's your gun. You need to be the master of your own weapon system. So as you're coming out here, by the time you're out here, notice my thumb on the left side is going to get me to 90% of my aiming point. Wherever my threat is, I'm going to be looking at it. As I'm coming out, my peripheral vision, I'm already seeing my sights a little lower than my vision, but I can still see my sights and they're pretty good aligned. So by the time I get up there, I'm making minor adjustments, and this all happens second nature. I'm making minor adjustments, tiny minor adjustments up and down, left and right on whatever axis it is. So by the time I get on target, I'm in my proper dominant eye. I get my target, I get that final sight picture, that gun goes off. I broke that link on that trigger, gun goes off, and I'm sending rounds downrange. That's why as you practice this and you do it multiple times, hundreds of times, take 5 minutes a day. That's 25 minutes every day during the week. That's hundreds of repetitions. You're able to drive that gun out, and practice it step by step. Yeah, initially you're going to look like a robot, but in time you're going to get so comfortable and it's going to look like smooth, fluid motions. And that's basically how to pull that holster out of that firearm and present it to your threat. So we'll go from scratch. So from here, interview position, go ahead, gun. If your hand's not already up here, put this hand up here. Take this hand, open it up, get that high grip, release whatever retention mechanism you have, drive that gun forward, and come up here. From this high ready position, if you need to engage on your threat, you're going to come up and you're going to drive. Notice how if I'm here, as I'm driving that gun out, I'm turning and I'm putting my thumb there. So if I'm here, I'm turning and putting my thumb there, and then I drive it out. Okay? And that's basically how I'm able to get on target that much faster. And if you need to bring it back in, all you do is bring it back in, finger goes straight off the trigger. When you're in this high ready position, this is a ready position, but your finger is straight off the trigger. If you're in a high threat situation and you know there's going to be a threat coming out, you should already have it presented and finger straight off the trigger, enough pre-take-up taken out if you've identified that that's a threat. You don't want to get your finger in there if you haven't identified that that's a threat and you need to take that threat down. So if you haven't identified that situation, if you're in a defensive situation, home defense or something like that, fingers off the trigger. When you're in high duress situations, you're flinching, and enough flinching can make that gun go off. So that's why you want to keep that finger straight off the trigger. So that's basically it. Good high grip, come back out, high ready, low belly ready, and then drive the gun. Drive the gun out. In certain situations, you might not be able to drive the gun out completely depending on the distance between your threat. You know, that's something we can talk about. It's an advanced technique, but just keep in mind, simple technique. Your holster can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So practice. Finger straight off the trigger is the most important things. I appreciate your time. Check out the next video and we'll talk about going to administratively load your firearm and unload and a couple other techniques. All right, shooters, DMZ Tactical out. Semper Fi.